My name's Constanza Castro. I am co-founder with my sister Domenica Castro of 271 Films, and thank you Palm Springs for having me. And the film, I would be really intrigued to have been at the pitch meeting of Interstellar. Like, how do you pitch that? Like, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aanch Khaneja, independent producer, and have run filmmaker companies for the last decade. I would say, not to be so on the nose, but Palm Springs.
Hi, everyone. My name's Rosen. I'm a manager. I represent filmmakers and writers at a company called Navigation. For a pitch for a movie that I would have loved to have been in the room for, honestly, like, I would say Sinners, because I don't know how that movie, I don't know how that movie exists and is so good. That would be my answer for this year.
Yeah, those are excellent answers. Hi, I'm Katie White. I am a producer, and the film I would choose, it's between Drop Dead Gorgeous and Best in Show. Which, like, there's a cross-section, right? There's a vibe.
Yeah, great. Those are all great choices. If you're interested, mine would be being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I just figured, it tells us a little bit about all of us. I figured we'd start with a little bit of the basics first. I'm curious what filmmakers most misunderstand about a pitch and a pitch meeting. Let's start the other way. Katie, I'm gonna throw you into the water first. Someone has to.
I mean, I guess it's less about, I'll speak to like my own experience.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned how to pitch because I was part of a Sundance lab. So I did the producer's lab, and part of it is like, you have to learn how to pitch your project because you have meetings at the end of this week. And I was so bad. Like, I was like, I can pitch a brick wall when it doesn't matter. But then, like, when there are stakes, I couldn't even say what my log line was. And so the best advice that I got when I was doing that was to, I don't think that everybody always needs to have a personal connection to the project that they're making, but I did, and they were like, just use that, like, why this, intimate story. It was like a coming-of-age drama about alcoholism. And so I just really hooked on to that, and it changed the way I pitched. So I think, like, going internal, and this isn't answering your question, but...
No, but also you're giving us a lot of information, so that...
It's don't be afraid to be vulnerable, and you don't have to put on a dog and pony show. Like, be yourself. Be yourself.
We're all writing that down.
I would say, you're catching me at a good moment. I have a few filmmakers and writers I work with who are like pitching stuff. In the last week, we've been like working through pitches, so I'm very prepared for this because streamlining the stuff with them has been like great work. The best thing I can say is like, I know this sounds so generic almost, but like, as long as it doesn't look like you're reading off of something and that you're like, looking, and it's hard because Zoom has changed how we pitch. And I hear a lot of pitches over Zoom. I hear a lot of pitches in real life. But like the filmmakers I work with, they're pitching stuff over Zoom, and they have to like, I don't want it to look like they're just reading off of a script for like 20 minutes because that feels like a book report. And so they have to be like engaged and vibrant and like energetic, and I don't know, like I just want them to give like, there has to be some sort of like enthusiasm with like how they're delivering it. And it doesn't, even if they're not personally connected to it, if they are, that's great. But yeah, that's what I would say. There has to be some sort of flow. I know sounds so weird to say, but like an energy. There has to be a real flow to things. So it doesn't look like you're just reading off of a whiteboard. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, in terms of the like misunderstanding part of it, I would speak to how many details to put in, because it's hard to know. It's like, I think the more pitches people do, you start to understand like what that line is between, do I just give sort of the, arc of the story, or do I give all the like important details that get us to that point, and you'll start to kind of figure it out. But I found that you have to have like a happy median but you also have to come prepared with all of the information that you have thought of, because people will have questions about it. So even if they're not all in the pitch, know that someone's going to go in and probably be like, why did they do this thing? And you're like, oh, because they met this other person. And there is always a reason, but like sometimes when you're pitching, you have such a short time, you want to like get to the point, you want to tell us like what is the main purpose of the story, the why now, why me, all of that, which means a lot of details go unsaid, and that's okay as well, but just have them in your head.
I think knowing what the heart of the story is really important. Like, you can pitch character arc and you can pitch a plot and you can sort of like talk about genre, but at the core, what is your movie about? Because it has to be so incredibly universal for somebody to just understand. It's like, ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is like, how do you find the universality? And I think the universality of a story truly lies on the heart of the story. What is at its core, at its most raw human level, what is your movie about, and how does that relate to you?
Right, which brings me to, I assumed it was going to be the thread of the entire conversation, which is, how do you strike that balance, right? So how do I look very prepared, but also like I'm not reading? Like, I give you a log line, but I don't give you too much detail. Like, it's personal, but I need to be professional. And so how much, I'm curious, like, in terms of preparation, how much preparation should I be investing? Like, am I rehearsing in front of the mirror? Am I talking to friends? Am I making it so that it feels improvisational, even though I've performed it to an inch of its life? What do you respond to most, I guess, in the room or in the Zoom meeting? Aanch, I'm going to throw you in first. But break it up.
Yeah, why not? So because most pitches have moved to Zoom, I kind of know you're reading. That's fine. But to Matt's point, are you sitting there reading a script? You know, like there is a method. Like, put your script on top, look like you're still talking to me. I know you're reading, it's fine. But in terms of how much prep, like, yes, please practice in front of a mirror, practice with your friends. But there is something to being over-prepared. So I was taking a pitch out with a writer, and, you know, I kept checking in, like, what is your process? How much do you want to prepare? And he was like, I just want to read it through once, because if I overread, then I'm going to be really, like, specific about these words, and then I'm reading off of a page, and I don't want that, and I want it to be conversational. So also knowing, like, what is your own method of preparation, because some people get really nervous and they're like, I have to know exactly what I'm saying, versus some people can kind of go with the flow and, you know, jump around. So I'd also leave it to them, but please practice.
Yeah, off that, I would say, I would totally agree with Aanch. Like, I was working through a pitch this week, literally with a writer, and the first pitch, I think, was like 25, 30 minutes, and it was tough. And she knew that it was tough too. I told her that. And like, I went through the whole document. I literally just went line by line. I took out, like, we cut it from 12 to 5.5 over the course of a week. She practiced it again, and then I was like, the pitch is tomorrow. You're gonna practice, like, she's like, I'm like, who do you practice with? She's like, my mom and my girlfriend. I'm like, great. Do that tonight, and then you'll nail it tomorrow. 5.5 pages is like 15, under 15, which is, I think, the sweet spot for when you're pitching. And I didn't need to hear it because I felt so confident. Once I saw it, I was like, she's got it. She's gonna crush it, and she did. So that was like the perfect length, I feel like, somewhere in that 15-minute vein, yeah.
And it's really hard, because I think, like, practicing can feel silly. Like, I remember, like, when I first was like, why do I practice? Like, this is really awkward. I'm not kind of pitching to you, but I'm not an actor. Like, what's going on, you know? But I definitely think that you have to practice. You have to start getting comfortable with, it almost needs to become, like second nature to, like, but knowing your story, I think, is really important. Like, once you know it inside and out, is like just talking to anybody, you know, like talking, I think strangers, I like to be like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Can I pitch you this story? Because the stakes are low, you know, and I think what happens when you're in a room, you're like, this is everything. If I mess it up, like, this is it. Like, I'm not gonna, and just knowing also that majority of the people say no in a pitch. you know? And so like going in with that expectation of like, well, most likely this person's going to say no because that is just the reality of Hollywood. And so like figuring out whatever works for you to like lower the stakes and say, I'm speaking from the heart, I know my story, I've practiced, I have really sort of like, I've spoken my truth, and that's all you can give. So like when you get a yes or a no, you're like, it's because I know this story inside and out, and like you can be proud of that.
That's how Cons and I met. She came up to me and just started pitching. And I said, I'm in, babe.
Me too?
No, you guys said it all. Like, I think, I don't know, giving it to God at some point and just being like, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but like, I'll do my best and learn something from it, you know? At some point, you have to like, not hold on so tight.
Yeah, and learn something from it. I think it's also a matter of, you're never just going to pitch once. I mean, if you're really lucky, you only pitched one time, but you need to learn that this is a sort of a thing you're going to do over and over again. I want to get to sort of some maybe a little bit more tangible sort of do's and don'ts, and I'm wondering if all of you could share pet peeves or red flags, things that if someone does, says, wears, has in the back of their Zoom meeting, like, is there something that, these are like small things, but I think they can signal a lot, especially when you're trying to make a choice about someone's project, about, investing. I'm curious if you have anything that comes to mind.
I have one. I've like gone out for drinks with like a friend who wants to tell me about a project, and which is also, it's like, right, pitching in like all capacities. It's not like just to an executive or a financier, right? And he just started like telling me this everything, the synopsis. He was reading me the synopsis, and I was like so disinterested. Like, it's just not what I'm interested in. It's really hard to focus on. I'm trying to track characters. There's no reference. Even like if I have a deck, it's like I don't really want to hear the synopsis. I want like a quickie and to move on, or else I'm just like, I can't. I'm not following. Like, you've lost me very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's like someone, off of that, like someone talking at you. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like they're just talking at you, but they just think that they're like performing, which drives me crazy. Also, when people don't, I said this in the last year, but like when they don't give comps, I'm a man, like I work obviously in this business, and unfortunately I have to use comps for everything when I'm pitching the project to executives. So I'm like, just, even if it's like dumb, please say like, it's this meets this.
What are the comps for sinners?
The comps for sinners. That's easy. It's like, it's Get Out meets like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
But it's about music, Sold in the Room. Yeah. But yeah, like having comps, and then when they open the pitch, I always like, even if it's just it can be 2 sentences, but like, yeah, like your personal connection to it, or like, this is the story I want to tell for this reason and why. This is why you're good. This is why like this fucking pitch is cool. This is why you're listening to this pitch, is because of this X, Y, and Z. Like having that, even if it can just be like a sentence or two, is so important, rather than just like going into the pitch. Like, okay, great to meet you guys. So we begin in Act 1, and then it's like there's no human emotional, people,
Be a person.
be a person.
Be a person.
I mean, I'm not joking, because I do think like, it's looking at it as a conversation, I think, is sort of what I'm hearing, right? Like, not, I'm reading, and I'm not translating, but I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
Yes to both of those. I'll just talk about the technical side, which is on Zoom. Like, just don't have your bed undone behind you. You know, like, I know that's so silly, but I was talking to a writer and I was so distracted. I was like, I'm looking at where you sleep. Like, that's weird.
This is like also a note for dating.
Yes, exactly.
Make your bed.
Yeah, but like, you don't have to have like the perfect background or a fake background. Like, that's sometimes distracting too, but just like be tidy, you know? And then Wi-Fi connection, just like on Zoom, because there's so much stuff. Like, even I've worked with a lot of writers, which I kind of appreciate, where they're like, hey, just let me know if my Wi-Fi goes out, because it happens and it's okay, but just like staying calm about it, knowing what your backup is, like having your hotspot ready, you know, like it will happen probably at some point.
Oh, you guys took everything. This one's gonna be weird, but I hate when like somebody's like overly, like their hubris, like this is the best show and you should say yes, and it's just like I just don't connect to that at all. It's like, let's have a conversation, let's be real, tell me why your story is great, but there's a real balance between like staying humble and knowing that something is great, and then just kind of being a little bit of a jerk. I don't know if that makes sense, but just don't be overly, I don't know, it's weird, because it's like, you need to have confidence.
Right.
But you don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it
I
properly. I don't know,
just
I'm
went
bad
into
at
a pitch
pitching this.
like that, and I didn't like it
It's
at all.
overly, it's
It's
like.
too much.
This
You're-
is, this,
you're
you
just
should,
like, you should buy
be
this
happy that
because-
I'm here in a room pitching to you, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, be confident but not arrogant.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't
Arrogant.
peacock.
Yeah.
Do not
Yes.
peacock.
Yeah.
Be prepared not to prepare, be confident not to confident. And it's a tightrope road.
It is a
And
tightrope.
I think this is why something I guess is very sort of helpful. I'm trying to think of how to phrase my next question. But I guess I'm curious about what are the elements of a pitch that truly grab you? Like, what are the things that you say, we've talked about confidence and we've talked about sort of personal connection, but like, are there things that, you have found that people who are really good at pitching, that across the board you could sort of be like, these are things I'm checking for, these are things I'm interested in, these are things that people should be making sure that they're sort of preparing for?
You want to take that?
Yeah. No, I'll just say, for me, it's really story beats. Like, I just want to know, like, a few things about Act 1, like, get us through, like, if there's a cold open, making sure the cold open is not too long, and then going into Act 1. I'm just, like, very story specific. Like, when I work with writers, I break it down. Like, Act 1 is, like, a page, Act 2 is a page and a half, Act 3, climax, like, we're done. And the other page is, like, the personal connection. So I, like, really try to come at it from, like, a story beat perspective. There's a great tidbit, which I'll just say, like, Steven Soderbergh has this thing where if you're ever pitching in a room and you can feel it slipping away from you and it's going really wrong, you just take a minute, you pause to yourself, and you say to the executive, at the end of the day, this is a story about hope. And it works every time, and they buy it. Yeah.
And that's a mandate for Apple,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's like Apple, their thing is like, it has to be hopeful, and if it's not, like, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a little bit of that, which is just like the structure of a pitch, but like, let it flow. Like, I want you to tell me a story, but feature pitch, TV pitch, obviously they're a little bit different in how you structure it, but like, why you? Why are you the person to tell the story? What's your personal connection? Tell us the log line, tell us the story, tell us the characters, and then if it's a TV pitch, what is the series arc? Like, there is a pretty specific structure that you follow, but make it seem so seamless that I'm on this journey with you, and I want to get to the point where you're like, this is about hope. What is it about at the end of the day? Like, we want to get to that point together.
I mean, like, however you engage in a project, whether you're like financing it or producing it or whatever, it's like, you're getting married. Like, you're gonna be together for so long, and you're gonna go through the hardest shit in your life. And like, so my thing is like, I'm looking to see if I like the person. Like, there's a likability that is in there, and I just want to shout out the people I like in this room. There are 3 of them right there. We have a film here called She Raised Me, but like, I always say, I'm like, man, I really liked, like, I met Ben, the director, and I liked him, I loved the story, we have a Muppet in it, but like, really, I was like, oh, I can do this, and with my producing partners, I was like, oh yeah, I can go through the most like awful experience with you guys and still want to like have dinner with you. And so it's, not the number one thing, but like, there is a certain amount of connection that I want to have with these people that I'm like very much getting in bed with.
Pitch at speed dating.
Yes, absolutely. I want to know if I won't.
Constanza.
This is getting recorded.
No, I think emotion ultimately is like, what is the emotionality of your pitch? Like, how can you integrate that into all of these other things that you're like, I need to have all of these answers, and I need to tell you why I'm the best person to say it, and whatever. But how do you thread in? Because at the end of the day, it's like, that's what we're doing. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, is like, how do you thread in emotionality into like this journey of like this 5-minute pitch that I'm gonna tell you, why it matters, why it's like dire that you say yes and that you, so like I enjoy when people make me laugh, if it's like a comedy. I enjoy if I'm like, oh shit, like I'm getting teary hearing you talk about the story that is so personal. Like when I feel something and hearing you talk about the story, that I think is like really, really important. It's like, make me feel, because ultimately that's what you're trying to do through your story.
Actually, I just want to, I feel like that's such an important point. Like, make sure you're pitching in the style of the genre that you're telling to. Because if it's a comedy and you don't make me laugh, I'm not going to trust you to write a comedy. Trust you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about pitch decks, because I think, there's sort of like, they can be part of the process, and they can come in all sort of shapes and sizes. And I'm curious, again, what makes a pitch deck stand out to you? But also maybe like, what are the things in a pitch deck that throw it away and suggest that maybe this person has not quite understood how to solve the project, or how to build it, or how to like use it as a tool to sort of lure you into sort of really engaging with a project?
I mean, if I get an attachment that's like 90 pages, I'm like out. But also I'm not making films that need 90 pages in a deck, right? So like there's a genre and a type of filmmaker that does require that. I'm just not working with that person probably, which is fine. I don't know, it's like, I'm really big on readability. Like, if you're gonna give me white font, it should be bold. Like, don't make it super tiny. Sometimes I'm like, can somebody that is 40 years older than me, maybe like 30, like read this without putting on their readers? Like, just make it, I don't know, friendly.
Yeah, drawing from like, if it's a visual deck, like I'm just like such a nerd, so I'm like drawing from all your visual sensibility, all your visual cinematic sensibilities, all the shit that like is gonna inspire you. If it's stills, if it's filmmakers, like if it's cool shots from other stuff, right? Like in a deck that's not too long, like 12 pages max, I think, for like, I know
That's short.
That's short. I'm all about short and sweet. But yeah, like drawing from that, like again, a slide about why it's, a sentence about why this is personal to you, why you want to tell the story. Yeah, like a few character, like two or three characters. I don't need like, I've gotten pitch decks where it's like the entire cast. And it's like, I didn't need to know about like nurse number 5. Like there's like, don't think she's gonna factor in. But like keeping it, yeah, just to the main character's story, all that. Yeah.
I go back to story. I think I really enjoy when the deck visually is like telling the story. It's like, how are you progressing through the pages by making me be engaged in the way that like your story is developing. And so I really gravitate towards like a cohesive sort of storytelling through the images, through but I think the most important thing for me is director's statement. Like never, or a writer's statement, like never send out a pitch deck, because I have gotten decks that I'm like, wait, can you, like, great, this is great, but like, why are you making this? Why does this matter to you? Like that, to me and Domenica, is like almost like the most important thing is like, how do you relate to the story, and why are you the person to tell it? So never skip on that director or writer statement.
I just want to, I think the other type of pitch deck versus like sending and getting something is the deck that you're pitching with as well. So just want to touch on that, which obviously goes alongside the pitch that you've written, and so making sure they're sort of aligned. I am on the side of not less text and having more images so, because I can't read and listen to you at the same time, and if you're reading what's on there, why am I listening to you? So images, which I think Matt really talked about, like finding the cinematic images that speak to you and to speak to the story tonally as well. And then I just want to talk about character pages, because I think a lot of people always ask, like, should I have 1 actor? Should I have 5 actors? Like, how many do you want? Everyone has a different answer, so honestly, I'm like, go with your gut. I'm on the side of like 1 to 3 maximum. Like if you're like, it's like this person meets this person, maybe with a little bit of this person in there, or you're trying to give options. But I know a lot of people are sort of like, just pick 1. It's like, this is the kind of actor that I'd like to have on screen.
I'm glad you brought up this sort of the various different elements. Craig, as you have this like script that you're working off, you have your pitch deck that maybe you sent ahead, the one that you're working with, and they all need to be, the sense I'm getting is like, they shouldn't all be the same, right? Like, you don't want to be repeating yourself, and you want to find what each of them are working off. We're going to be transitioning in a little bit to hearing actual pitches today and then giving feedback, but maybe as a final question, since I'm sure we could stay here for hours and hours on end, is there one thing about pitching and pitches that we have not talked about that you had told yourself that you were going to tell this audience today before we move on to actual pitches?
I'll say I'll just to bring it back to like being comfortable, like the last 5 years have shown us that like now we're all pitching each other over Zoom. I think that's hard. There is like a disconnection there. I started managing in 2020, so I only know that world from pitching and like meeting writers and having them tell me their stories over Zoom. But like having that real comfortability and the confident but not too confident, and just being like confident in the story you want to tell, excited about it, because if you're excited, then I'm gonna probably get excited too in some way if we can connect over it. Because like at the end of the day, we're connecting over our love of the thing. So that I just would reiterate that again. Yeah.
I think mine would be, is it necessary? You know, like, I love a tight edit. I think movies have gotten like absurdly long. And yeah, it goes for like a deck and a pitch. Like, is it necessary? Yeah.
Piggybacking off of that is like, why is it relevant today? I think we're living in a world where like everybody's making movies. There's so much content. Like, how is this one gonna stand out from all the other things that are getting made? And finding like a real answer as to why this story matters is really important.
This was sort of touched on, but I really want to emphasize comps.
Oh yeah.
Please put in comps, very helpful for us. But also just that, usually if you're a writer, you don't come into this industry to like perform, you're there to write. And I think a lot of writers struggle with that journey to be like, pitching is a performance and you have to put yourself out there. So just acknowledging it's hard. It is a new skill set that you're learning and developing, and just, I don't know, giving yourself some grace. Like it's hard to pitch, and not everyone is great at it, and that's okay.
Yeah. But as you say, it's a skill. So
Yeah.
like the understanding.
There are a lot of bad writers who are incredible at pitching.
Yes.
And there are some of the greatest writers